His presence dear.
The 17th of January 1900, Volume 3, Evilness and Shrewdness of Man. This morning my adorable Jesus was coming and going, but always in silence. Then I felt I was going outside of myself, and I felt Jesus behind me saying, "Man says there is no more rectitude, and as long as things are this way, we will not be able to obtain any success in our intents. So let us fake virtue. Let us pretend we are upright. Let us show ourselves as true friends on the outside, for in this way it will be easier to weave our nets and deceive others. And when we come out to plunder them and harm them, since everyone believes that we are friends, we will easily have them in our hands without resistance. Look at where the shrewdness of man reaches." After this, wanting a special act of reparation, blessed Jesus seemed to cut my life off, offering me to divine justice. In the act in which he was doing this, I thought that Jesus would make me pass away from this life, so I said to him, "Lord, I do not want to come to heaven without your insignia. First crucify me and then take me." So he pierced my hands and feet through with the nails. But while doing this, to my highest sorrow, he disappeared, and I found myself inside myself. And I said to myself, "I am still here. Ah, how many times you have done this to me, my dear Jesus. Indeed, you have a special art for being able to do it, for you make me believe that I must die, so I laugh at the world, at the pains, and I even laugh at you, because the time of our being separated is ended, and there will be no more intervals of separation. But as soon as the laughing begins, as I find myself bound once again with the shackles of the wall of this fragile body, forgetting that I had just begun to laugh, I continue with the crying, the moans and the sighs of my separation from you. Ah, Lord, hurry, for I feel compelled to come." End of the reading. The 17th of January 1911, Volume 10. The civilian leaders listened to Jesus more than the ecclesiastical leaders. The houses of reunion for priests will be called houses of the resurrection of the faith. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus came, but so afflicted and so burning with love that he was restless and asked for refreshment. And throwing his arms around my neck, he told me, "My daughter, give me love. This is the sole and only refreshment to calm my restlessness of love." Then he added, "Daughter, what you wrote about the reunions of priests is nothing but a process that I am making with them. If they listen to me, fine, but if they don't, since the leaders of the ecclesiastics will not listen to me because they too are bound by the laces of interest and are slaves of human miseries, almost lapping them up. Instead of dominating over these miseries of interest, of high positions and the like, the miseries dominate them. Therefore, since they are deafened by what is human, I will neither be understood nor listened to. I will turn to the civilian leaders, who will listen to me more easily, because of their desire to see the priests humiliated, and also because maybe these are a little more strict than the ecclesiastics themselves. My voice will be more listened to. And what they do not want to do out of love, I will make them do by necessity and by force, and I will make the government take away what is left to them. And I, my highest and only good, what will be the name to be given to these houses, and what the rules?" And he, "The name will be the houses of the resurrection of the faith. As for the rules, they can use the same rules as the oratory of St. Philip Neri." Then he added, Tell Father B that you will be the organ and he the sound for this work. If he will be mocked and disliked by those who have their interests, the good and the few true good will comprehend the necessity and the truth that he announces and will make it a duty of conscience to get down to work. Besides, if he is mocked, he will have the honour of becoming more similar to me. End of the reading. The 17th of January 1921, Volume 12. The Fiat Mihi of the Most Holy Virgin had the same power of the Creator Fiat. The third Fiat will be the fulfillment and the completion of the prayer taught by Jesus. Fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. I felt my poor mind immersed in the immense sea of the divine volition. I could see the mark of the Fiat everywhere. I saw it in the sun, and it seemed to me that the echo of the Fiat in the sun brought me divine love, which darted through me, wounded me, and flashed through me. And I, on the wings of the Fiat of the sun, went up to the Eternal One, bringing in the name of the whole human family the love which darted, wounded, and flashed through the Supreme Majesty. And I said, in your Fiat you give me all this love, and only in the Fiat can I return it to you. I looked at the stars, and I could see the Fiat in them, and in their sweet and meek glittering, this Fiat brought me pacific love, sweet love, hidden love, compassionate love, in the very night of sin. And I, in the Fiat of the stars, in the name of all, brought to the throne of the Eternal One pacific love, in order to put peace between heaven and earth, the sweet love of the loving souls, the hidden love of many others, the love of the creatures when, after sin, they come back to God. But who can say all that I understood and did in the many Fiats which were scattered all over creation? I would be too long, so I stop here. Then my sweet Jesus took my hands in his own, and squeezing them tightly told me, my daughter, the Fiat is all full of life. Even more, it is life itself. And this is why all lives and all things come from within the Fiat. Creation came out from my Fiat. Therefore, in each created thing, one can see the mark of the Fiat. Redemption came out from the Fiat Mihi of my dear Mama, pronounced in my volition and carrying the same power of my creative Fiat. Therefore, there is nothing in redemption which does not contain the mark of the Fiat Mihi of my Mama. Even my very humanity, my steps, words and works were marked by her Fiat Mihi. My pains, my wounds, my thorns, my cross, my blood had the mark of her Fiat Mihi, because things carry the mark of the origin from which they come. My origin in time was the Fiat Mihi of the Immaculate Mama. Therefore all of my works carry the mark of her Fiat Mihi. So her Fiat Mihi is in each sacramental host. If man rises again from sin, if the newborn is baptized, if heaven opens to receive souls, it is the Fiat Mihi of my Mama that marks everything, follows everything, and from it everything proceeds. O power of the Fiat! It rises every instant, it multiplies, and it becomes life of all goods. Now, I want to tell you why I asked for your Fiat, your yes in my volition. I want the prayer which I taught, the Fiat voluntas tua sicut in cielo et in terra, this prayer of so many centuries, of so many generations, to have its fulfillment and completion. This is why I wanted another yes in my volition, another Fiat, containing the creative power. I want the fiat that rises every instant and multiplies in every one. I want in one soul my own fiat that ascends to my throne and by its creative power brings upon earth the life of the fiat on earth as it is in heaven. Surprised and annihilated in hearing this, I said, Jesus, what are you saying? Yet you know how bad and incapable of everything I am. And he, my daughter, it is my usual way to choose the most abject, unable, poor souls for my greatest works. Even my mamma had nothing extraordinary in her exterior life, no miracles, not a sign that would distinguish her from other women. Her only distinction was perfect virtue, to which almost no one paid attention. And if to other saints I gave the distinction of miracles, and I adorned others with my wounds, to my mamma nothing, nothing. Yet she was the portent of portents, the miracle of miracles, the true and perfect crucified. No one else was like her. I usually act like a master who has two servants. One of them seems a Herculean giant, good at everything. The other one is short, unable, and seems to be good at nothing, not an important service. If the master keeps him, it is more for charity and also for fun. Now, having to send 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000 to another town, what does he do? He calls the little and incapable one and entrusts the great sum to him, saying to himself, if I give it to the giant, all will fix their attention on him. Thieves may attack him and rob him, and if he tries to defend himself with his Herculean strength, he may be wounded. I know that he is capable, but I want to spare him. I do not want to expose him to the obvious danger. On the other hand, no one will pay attention to this little one, knowing him to be incapable. No one would think that I would entrust such an important sum to him, and so he will come back safe and sound. The poor incapable one is surprised that the master would trust him, and when he could have used the giant, and all trembling and humble, he goes to deposit the great sum, with no one deigning to give him even a glance. So he returns safe and sound to his master, more trembling and humble than before. So I do. The greater the work I want to do, the more I choose abject, poor, ignorant souls, with no outward appearance which may expose them. The abject state of the soul will serve as safe custody for my work. The thieves of self-esteem and love of self will not pay attention to her, knowing her inability, and she, humble and trembling, will carry out the office entrusted by me, knowing that she has done nothing by herself, but that I did everything in her. End of the reading. The 17th of January 1922, Volume 13. Every good that the creature does is a sip of life that she gives to her soul. I was following the passion of my sweet Jesus. In one instant I found myself outside of myself, and I saw my always lovable Jesus being dragged along the streets, trampled, beaten. More than in the passion itself, he was being treated in such a barbaric way as to be repugnant to the sight. I approached my sweet Jesus to snatch him from under the feet of those enemies who looked like many incarnate demons. He threw himself into my arms as if he were waiting for me to defend him, and I brought him into my bed. Then, after quite a few minutes of silence, as though wanting to rest, he said to me, "My daughter, have you seen how vice and passions triumph in these sad times? how victoriously they walk along all the streets, while good is trampled, beaten, and annihilated. Good is me. There is no good that a creature may do in which I am not involved, and every good that the creature does is a sip of life that she gives to her soul. Therefore, the more good acts she does, the more the life of her soul grows, rendering her stronger and more disposed to do more good acts. However, in order to be exempt from any poisonous substance, these acts must be upright, without human purpose, and only to please me. Otherwise, the most beautiful acts, which appear to be the holiest, who knows how much poison they contain? And I, being pure, good, shun these contaminated acts, and I do not communicate life. Therefore, although it seems that they do good, their good is empty of life, and creatures feed themselves with foods which give them death. Evil strips the soul of the garment of grace. It deforms her. It forces her to swallow poison, so as to make her die immediately. Poor creatures made for life, for happiness, for beauty, while sin does nothing but give them sips of death, sips of unhappiness, sips of ugliness, which, taking all vital humours away from her, make of her dry wood, to burn with greater intensity in hell. End of the reading. The 17th of January, 1932, Volume 30. Dominating, Speaking, and Felicitating Ways of the Divine Will. How Heaven Remains Behind. Victory of God and Victory of the Creature. The Divine Will, Gatherer of its Works. Example of a mother who laments her crippled son. My little soul continues to cross the interminable sea of the divine fiat, and oh, how I remain surprised that while it seems to me that I have gone a long way, I go to look and I find nothing other than a few steps in comparison to those that remain for me to make. The interminability is so much that even if I should walk centuries, I would always find myself at the beginning, and there is so much to know about the divine volition that, finding myself in its sea, I always feel the little ignorant one who hardly has learned the vowels of the divine will, and perhaps I will learn the consonants in the celestial fatherland that I hope to reach soon. Oh, how I would want ways to move all heaven to pity, so that my long exile might end. But after all, fiat, fiat, fiat. And my always lovable Jesus, having compassion on me, clasped me in his arms, telling me, "Blessed daughter, courage, do not afflict yourself so much, for now I want that your heaven be my divine will. It will be celestial fatherland for you on earth, and it will not lack making you happy and giving you the pure joys of up there, because where it reigns, it has so many multiplicity of ways in order to give new surprises of joys, of contentments, that the soul who possesses it can enjoy her paradise on earth. And therefore, now it takes dominating ways, and its dominion extends in the mind, in the word, in the heart, in all the being of the creature, even in the littlest motion. And oh, how sweet is its dominion! It is dominion and life. It is dominion and strength. It is dominion and light that makes its way, and its light dispels the darkness. It removes the bars that can impede the good, and its dominion puts the enemies to flight. In sum, the creature feels herself carried by the dominion of the divine will, and while she is dominated, she remains dominator of herself, of her acts, of the same divine will itself, that while it dominates and rules, So much is its gentleness, strength, and sweetness that it identifies itself with the creature and wants that she dominate together, because its dominion is peaceful, and for all the acts that the creature does, it gives its kiss of dominating peace. This kiss, gentle and sweet, enraptures the human will in the divine, and they extend the dominion together in order to form the divine kingdom in the depth of the soul. There is nothing more beautiful, dearer, greater, holier than feeling the dominion of my will flow in all the acts and in the whole being of the creature. I could say that heaven remains behind before the dominion of my will in the heart of the pilgrim creature, because in the saints it has nothing to add. Nothing else remains except continually making them happy. On the other hand, in the pilgrim soul, there are works that it can do, new life that it can infuse, new conquests that it can acquire in order to greatly enlarge and extend its dominion. The total dominion of my divine will in the creature is our continued victory. Every act of hers that she does in it, with its dominion, are so many victories we make, and the creature remains victor of my divine will in her acts. On the other hand, in heaven, we do not have anything to win, because everything is ours, and each blessed completes his work in the act of expiring. Therefore our conquering work is on earth in pilgrim souls, not in heaven. In heaven we have nothing to lose or acquire. Now, when my divine will has assured its total dominion in the creature, it takes its speaking way. You must know that every word of it is a creation. Where it reigns, it does not know how to be idle, and since it possesses the creative virtue, it does not know how to speak if it does not create. But what does it create? It wants to create itself in the creature. It wants to make a display of its divine qualities, and it does it word by word, almost as it did in the creation of the universe, that not one word alone was said, but as many words, for however many distinct things it wanted to create. The soul cost us more than all the universe, and when it is secure in its dominion, it does not spare its words. Rather, as she receives the act of its creative word, so it enlarges her capacity and prepares another one, such that it speaks and creates light. It speaks and creates sweetness. It speaks and creates the divine fortitude. It speaks and creates its day of peace. It speaks and creates its knowledges. Every word of it is bearer of the creation of the good that it possesses and reveals. Its word becomes announcer of the good that it wants to create in the soul. Who can tell you the value that one single word about my divine will possesses, and how many heavens, seas of riches, varieties of beauty it places in the fortunate creature who possesses its sweet and happy dominion? Now, after the work, the joy, the happiness arises. My will by nature is pregnant with innumerable joys. It looks at the creature who has lent herself to receiving the creation of its words, and oh, how happy it feels, because it sees that every creation received gave birth to a joy and happiness without end. And it passes from the speaking way to the felicitating way. And in order that the creature enjoys even more, it does not step aside, no, but facilitates together. And in order to make her rejoice more, it keeps unfolding the nature and diversity of the joys that it has created in her soul only because it loves her and wants to see her happy. And since the joys, the happiness, when alone are not full, it seems that one dies. Therefore it leaves me together with you in order to always make you happy and prepare new joys with the work of my creative hand. Therefore, our only feast and happiness that we have on earth is the soul who lets herself be possessed by the dominion of my supreme will. In her our word, our life, our joys find a place. One can say that the work of our creative hands is in the order where it was established by our infinite wisdom. That is to say, in its place of honour in our divine will. On the other hand, one who lets herself be dominated by her human will is in disorder and is our continuous out-of-place item in our creative work. Therefore be attentive, my daughter, and make happy the one who wants to make you happy in time and in eternity. After this, I continued to swim in the sea of light of the divine fiat. I felt drowned by light, and so many were its knowledges that I did not know which of them to cling to. Given my littleness, I did not know where to put them, therefore they were lost in its same light, and I remained surprised, without knowing how to say anything. And my sweet teacher, Jesus, added, "My daughter, my will is gatherer of all its works. It hides everything in its light. With its light it defends them and places all its works in safety. How much does this light not do to place in safety the creature, the most beautiful work of our creative hands, and in order to make him return beautiful, striking, as we brought him forth? It gathers him in its womb of light and casts so much light over him in order to make all evils disappear for him. If he is blind, by way of light it gives him sight. If he is mute, by way of light it wants to give him the word. The light takes him from all sides and gives him the hearing if he is deaf. If he is crippled, it straightens him. If he is ugly, by way of its light, it makes him beautiful. A mother does not do as much as my divine will does in order to render its creature beautiful and restored. Its weapons are of light, because there is no power that can hide light, nor good that it does not possess. What would a mother not do who, having given to the light a beautiful baby who enraptures her with his beauty, and the mother feels happy in the beauty of the son, but a misfortune strikes him, and he becomes blind, mute, deaf, crippled? Poor mother, she looks at her son and does not recognize him any more. His eyes extinguished so that he cannot look at her any more. His silvery voice that made her start with joy in hearing herself called Mama, she does not hear any more. His little feet that ran in order to be on her lap, with difficulty drag along. This son is the most transfixing sorrow for a poor mother, and what would she not do if she were to know that her son could be returned again to his first features? She would go round the whole world if she could obtain this, and it would be sweet for her to give her own life, provided that she would see her son beautiful as she gave him forth to the light. But, poor mother, it isn't in her power to restore the first beauty of her dear son, and it will always be a sorrow for her and the most transfixing thorn to her maternal heart. So has the creature become by doing his will, blind, mute, crippled. Our will laments with our love's ardent tears of light. But what the mother cannot do for her crippled son, my divine will does not lack the power to do. It, more than mother, will place at his disposition its capitals of light, that possess the virtue of restoring all the goods and beauty of the creature. It, tender, loving, and vigilant mother of the work of its hands, that more than dearest son it put forth to the light, will go around not all the world, but all the centuries, in order to prepare and give the potent remedies of light that vivifies, transforms, straightens, and embellishes. And then will it stop when it sees on its maternal lap, beautiful as it put him forth, the work of its creative hands, in order to be repaid for the so many sorrows, and to enjoy itself with him forever. Are there so many knowledges about my divine will not perhaps remedies? Every manifestation, a word that I say, is a fortress that I place around the weakness of the human will, and a food that I prepare. It is a bait, a taste, a light, in order to let him reacquire the lost sight. Therefore be attentive, and do not lose anything of what my will manifests to you, because in its time it will serve everyone, and nothing will be lost. Do you believe that it has not kept count of every single word of what it says? Everything is numbered, and nothing is lost. And if it has formed its chair in your soul in order to deposit its truths, still the first chair it has reserved in itself as the greatest treasure that pertains to it, in a way that if you lose some word or manifestation that pertains to it, it already conserves the original in itself, because what regards my divine will is of infinite value, and the infinite cannot be, nor is it subject to, being lost. On the contrary, jealous, it conserves its truths in the divine archives. Therefore, even you learn to be jealous and vigilant, and to appreciate its holy lessons. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.